So now let's have a look at the structure of our mature medica. In the weeks ahead, we're going to start looking at specific homeopathic medicines and symptoms that go along with them. But for today, I just want you to start thinking about the way that our mature medica is classified and broken down and presented, because it relates very much to the way that a homeopath also looks at their case and their clients and the way that information is broken down and presented. So look at the term mature medica. It's a Latin term. It basically means medical matter. It's in the substance which is used medicinally. So it's about the material that we treat people with. In homeopathy, mature medicas describe the symptoms and conditions associated with each medicine. So we go to our mature medica and look up a specific medicine, whatever it is, and it tells us all the symptoms that are associated with that particular medicine, the things that that medicine is used to treat. So there's actually a whole range of different types of homeopathic mature medicas. They include things like mature medica pura. So this is actually what Hahnemann called his first mature medica, and we've got to remember that Hahnemann had this thing where he wanted to create a new mature medica where all the symptoms were based on empirical testing. He wanted to get rid of all the kind of theory and superstition that was around in the traditional medicine of his era and the orthodox medicine of his era, and create a new pure mature medica that was based on empirical testing. So when we say mature medica pura, it means all the indications for medicines have been compiled exclusively from human pathogenic trials or provings, and excludes things like clinical additions or toxicological additions, things which come from other sources. This kind of approach is really useful for getting a detailed record of the prover's recorded descriptions of symptoms. This is the kind of thing that Hahnemann was looking to create. We've got kind of a standard mature medica. This is probably what's actually used most commonly. This has got the indications from the HPTs, but also clinical additions based on people's experience using these medicines in practice, what they've confirmed, what they've seen, what they've observed, and then recorded based on their clinical experience. Also toxicological sources. So if there's been an accidental poisoning with a substance, for example, the symptoms of that poisoning get added as if it was like a structured proving or a trial. This is useful for the broadest range of indications for a particular medicine. This is kind of like putting all the different information that's possibly available all in one place. There's really big comprehensive books, and you'll see these are the ones where they've got telephone-sized books, or they're in encyclopedias that fill an entire shelf with multiple volumes, kind of stuff. The other approach that we use is what's called a synoptic or a keynote mature medica. So these are like digests. They've got the key features. These are things which are really useful for quick reference in a clinical situation. It's where you can look up and kind of refresh your memory what the details on the most important or the most characteristic parts of a medicine are. Same way that we focus on in our case taking, what's most characteristic about my client. A keynote mature medica is basically saying what's most characteristic about this medicine. And it's actually a keynote mature medica we're using as your set text in this particular subject. So it's that quick, rapid access to the most important information. And it's the kind of stuff you use in clinic. You can reach for it, look at something very quickly while your client's in front of you, as opposed to the other more detailed mature medicas where you could be reading 50 or 100 pages just on one particular medicine. There are lots of other types too. A really common type of mature medica is what's called an essence or an interpretive mature medica, and this emphasizes an individual author's clinical experience based on that particular medicine, and a lot of them are particularly psychological in approach. So this is where an author kind of takes the information from our other mature medicas and presents their understanding, their interpretation of it based on what they've seen in clinic. So in some ways that's a bit more limited because they tend to present a single picture and says the medicine always looks like this, which we know isn't true in the real world. But it's also really useful for you guys and for everyone really, because they're often easier to learn mature medica and new medicines from them, because they give really descriptive kind of sentences and examples from their clinic and stories about the way they've seen this medicine. So if you're someone who likes to get more into a storytelling approach to learning stuff rather than just a list of facts, an essence-based mature medica is a really useful way to do that. It's they first really got developed by Kent. Actually, he was the guy who first started writing books like mature medica descriptions like that. And he did it for students to help them learn their mature medica. It's another useful way of accessing mature medica, and especially for psychologically focused prescribing. There's some really useful stuff out there like that. So mature medicas have a range of different structures based on their content, which type of book they are, and their intended usage. But most commonly, each medicine is presented as if it's a chapter, and each chapter then, each medicine is broken up into different sections. And usually what we see is each section actually relates to a location. So remember, we've got location, sensation, modality, concomitant. We kind of often categorize stuff in our homeopathy books under the location heading. So there's a section that's about the mind symptoms, and a section for the head, a section for the back, a section for the skin, etc. And most often you'll see these get presented in a top to bottom kind of sequence, moving from the top of the body towards the bottom of the body. Yeah? So mind may go at the front, because it's kind of at the top part of the body, and then we might talk about the head, and then we might talk about the face, and then we might talk about the neck, and move our way progressively down the different locations or regions of the body. They can also have specific sections for modalities, the things which make someone better or worse. And a lot of things will have relationships to other remedies, which other medicines are similar. You might want to compare and contrast that medicine with differential diagnosis, or other just clinically useful materials can all be included as well. Let's look at our set text Mature Medica together. Hopefully you've got your program already. If you don't, that's okay. I'm going to put a copy of the this Mature Medica for today in the notes section, so you've got that to refer to today because it may still be on the way to you. We've just started. If you do have it, that's great. We can start looking at it together now. So I want to get you to bring up your Mature Medica. So to do that, if you've got the program, just open the program up. And in the top left hand corner you can see there's a large button that says References. This is where all your Mature Medica text would live. So just click on that one, and that will bring up, and then immediately below it, a table of contents that lists the Mature Medica packages or Mature Medica books in your package. What we're using is the Radar Keynotes book. So just click through that, find the Radar Keynotes, and if you click on that in the table of contents, it will open that up then in the right hand side in the viewing area. Opens up to the first medicine in the list. So let's look at a specific medicine. Let's look at arnica together. So to go to that one, you're just going to click in the top left hand corner of your viewing window. There's a little symbol that looks like a pair of binoculars. So if you click on that, that brings up all the chapters, all the sections of your Mature Medica. And we're going to go to Arnica section, so I'm just going to type in Arnica and then click enter on my keyboard. It shows me all the sub chapters. I'm not going to go into those right now, so I'm going to click enter again. And this then takes me into the Arnica section of my Mature Medica. So you just navigate through, bring it up on your screen. And if you look at that, you can see this is pretty much what we just described. It says at the top, Arnica montana, full name of the medicine. Just below that, it's got in brackets, ARN, A-R-N dot, which is the abbreviation for arnica. We're going to look at this medicine in more detail later on, so for the moment, don't worry about the symptoms. We'll just think about the Mature Medica structure. You can see the first thing it says at the top, ailments from injury, trauma, physical or psychic, soreness. It's like gives us, this is the, if you just remembered one thing about this medicine, this is the one thing you want to know. This particular book does it. It's a quick way to refresh your memory what a medicine is about. And then you can see it goes through and it's got kind of sub-sections for each of these main areas. And again, based on location. So our first location in this layout, this particular book, is the mind. And it gives us the mental, emotional symptoms that are associated with this medicine. Then we've got the generalities, physical generals. Some books put those at the end. This particular one puts them at the top. Because knowing Kent's hierarchy, mind and generals are two of the most important things. We often want to look at those first. It gives us a good overall description of medicine. So if you only remembered one page worth of information about this medicine, you'd remember the quick summary at the top, the mind and the generals, and that's the thing that's most important to know about the medicine. Here on after that, if you start to scroll down, you'll see there's a section, like a chapter or a paragraph for each section of the body, each location. It moves from the top, moves towards the bottom. So we've got the head section, then the eye section, then the ear section, then the nose, then the mouth, then the stomach, then the abdomen, then the rectum, then the urinary system, then the male genitalia, the female genitalia. And so we've kind of done a top to bottom pass down the torso. It actually comes back here, does a second pass, goes back and catches all the organ systems we didn't get the first time, which is the respiratory ones. So the chest, the cough, the chest, then does the extremities, the arms, the legs, the musculoskeletal system. Finally it does the skin. And you see at the very bottom it's got complementary medicines, little abbreviation COMPL, which says the medicines that are complementary to this. And then DD, as in differential diagnosis. These are the medicines that look very similar to this. So this is a kind of a typical Mature Medica layout. Most of your Mature Medicas are going to be laid out in a pattern that looks pretty much like this. So if you're treating someone who's got problems with their limbs, for example, you're probably going to look straight away at the extremities section as the most relevant section for that person at this particular time, and you probably also look at the mind and the generals, the kind of the general information or the bigger picture information for this medicine, and you might look at other sections depending on if they've got relevant symptoms there. We know our clients don't have to have every single symptom that a medicine's got in order for us to give it to them. It would not be good if that was the case, because some of our best known medicines have tens of thousands of symptoms. But what we're looking for is to say, does our as a client symptoms, all the symptoms our clients got that are important, that are characteristic of them, are they also important and characteristic in this particular medicine? Which is where a keynote material medical like this is really useful, because you can quite quickly look at it and go, yeah, I can see how that's relevant to my client, and you can focus on the locations where they've got particular symptoms and straight away make a decision if that's worthwhile looking into, or of course looking into further as well. If you don't get enough information from a keynote, you can go on to a full Materia Medica Pure, or a big broad Materia Medica with all the information together. But just want to quickly get you thinking about the structure of the Materia Medica and the way that things are broken down to those particular locations. That's going to become more and more important as we progress into your application in this subject.